Hey guys, it's Tony with Backwoods Biker Magazine and Wood Tramp Outdoors. Jeanette from Houston, Texas wrote me an email and asked me, number one, she asked me why I haven't been responding to her question, and number two, did I have any advice for those that are suffering right now from the winter storm down in Texas on how to survive the disaster. So hang tight. So welcome back, Jeanette. Let me just first of all apologize that I didn't write you back personally right away. I know what you're going through. I see it on television throughout every day, and I understand. Not so much your personal situation that you're in, because I've never been in that type of situation you're in right now. But I've received numerous emails. When I say numerous, at least 50 just in the last week asking me to respond. And we've been trying to figure out how we would do it. We decided that doing a video would probably be the best thing. So here we are today. And again, I'm not trying to pretend that I know the exact situation that you're in, or how it feels to be in your situation. But what I would like to do is to help everyone here today, especially in the Texas area that is suffering from the extreme temps. We've had extreme temps here. We've been suffering from, well, haven't even suffered. I mean, it's just what we do here in the Midwest. But we're prepared for it. We've been going through 2 weeks of sub-freezing temperatures, often below zero. We had one day that was, I think, with the wind chill, it was like 27 below, and that's pretty cold. The regular temperature was around 12 below, maybe. I just can't remember, because, as I said, we go through it all the time in the winter. It's just a regular part of our life here. But with what you're going through there, your infrastructure isn't set up for it. Your own personal training, if you're a Texan, I mean, you're just not used to this type of stuff. So when it hits you like this, you're caught with your pants down, so to speak. And you don't have electricity, you don't have heat, you don't have running water right now. So I want to address a couple of the things here today that might be able to help you out. Okay, and that would be in regards to a survival/disaster kitchen. Now we've teamed up with Todd Albee from Silverfire.us for the past 5 years on different projects, and as I said before, he is a genius when it comes to stoves of all kinds. The first one that we saw was his Silverfire Scout bush stove, which is still the number one stove in our eyes. Compared to everything that we see, and we get stoves every year. And I think I've told you in the last two videos or whatever, that this time of the year is when a lot of the gear is arriving for us to look at for articles and videos for the rest of the year. We've been receiving some stoves, and there's nothing that compares to the Silverfire Scout as far as a single person bush stove, or even it could even feed two people. But what I'm getting at is that is the stove that introduced us to Todd Albee and his design and his scientific mind. He is a former Navy SEAL, so guys like that always think outside the box. And over the years, he has developed several different stoves for people in remote parts of the world, third countries that have hard time cooking. That produces, they produce a lot of pollutants in their own homes. It's just terrible for everybody. And Todd has came up with a couple stoves that I want to talk to you about today, because these would help you out if you're in that situation in Houston and the surrounding areas where you can't boil water efficiently. The first one is the rocket stove. This is the Silverfire Survivor rocket stove. It's the best rocket stove out on the market. You know, these are not hobby toys. These are true pieces of survival gear or disaster response gear that the folks at Silverfire have come up with. It is the most efficient stove that will boil water quickly, and it just uses a small amount of fuel to be able to do that. So you can, anything that's quick, that you need done quick, you can do it on a stove like this. Now, the other stove that I wanted to tell you about, this is the first part of the kitchen. The second one is the Silverfire Hunter chimney stove. It's a top feed. This is a regular Survivor rocket stove that feeds from the front here, and the chimney stove is a top load down feed stove. That is a long burning chimney stove that you can cook meals on. You can cook beans on it. You can cook stews. You can do all that where you can walk away. This stove you can't walk away from. You got to keep minding the fire to make sure that it has all the fuel that it needs. This one over here you can walk away from once you load it up, go do some more tasks or whatever. But I'm going to get outside with this today. And I'm going to show this to you. We've been trying to get out with this for a camp kitchen. This is great for camp kitchens too, but COVID has killed us, you know, in 2020. We weren't able to get out for a lot of things that we wanted to do. But I'm going to do this right out in the backyard in a scenario that you are facing, that where you would have to be if you're in this disaster right now. You're going to be in your backyard too. So with all that being said, let me get out of here and get these stoves hooked up and show you how you can use these in a disaster situation, because it's important right now. And Jeanette, thanks for your patience, really. And we are praying for everybody down there. So hang tight. Be right back. Guys, as I said, I was going to come right out here in my backyard and try to film this for you. You know, right now out here it's about 24 degrees. We're having a heat wave, and temperatures do not seem to be that bad because of the simple fact that we've been down below zero. But I'm all by myself. I don't have a lav on, so I'm going to do my best to give you the best presentation that I can. Here are the two stoves that I mentioned to you. This is the Silverfire Survivor rocket stove. This is the Silverfire Hunter chimney stove, hence the chimney you see here. The Silverfire Survivor is designed to do rapid boiling to purify water, or if you're going to do a quick oatmeal, rice, things like that, or reheating different meals that you have already cooked. This is a great option for that. This is your slow style cooker for stews, for wild game, beans, different types of rice dishes. I mean, just keep in mind, this is the slow guy that you want to use. Now, the prices of all these are going to be on, make sure they get up on the screen for you and the website so you can go and get those. But I'm just going to do this in a way as if I was in your position. So I'm going to gather up some snow inside this pot, and I want to make mention of that too. This is the Silverfire Dragon pot with a steam basket. And the reason that I use this, just show it to you, it looks, you know, just like a regular pot when you see it like this. But when you look up under it, you see it has a double wall, and the heat comes up out of the stove and superheats inside of here a second time, almost like a secondary burn coming up out of here. That's why it boils water very, very quickly. We have boiled water in just a few minutes. This holds almost 2 gallons. So let me gather up some snow. I want to make some quick tea so you can see how long that takes, and then we'll go from there. One thing that I want to make mention of, if you are gathering snow up, that you make sure there are no animal tracks anywhere around to where the snow's been contaminated or anything like that. And all I'm doing is going to scoop up about the first 2 or 3 inches of that snow, and that's it. so you can see what I have here. At least I'm hoping you can. Now, remember, for those of you that are well versed in survival training, living, this particular film really isn't designed for you, although any of these components are great to have in your arsenal for either a base camp kitchen or, in this case, a disaster kitchen, survival kitchen. And I'll tell you a little about these as I go. This is again, the Silverfire Survivor Rocket Stove. One of the best, it is the best on the market as far as I'm concerned, because of the way that it's been built. It is a gasification stove, which means that not only does it have the primary burn, but it also has the secondary burn, which causes great efficiency to happen. And that's all you got to have. You don't have to have the dragon pot in order for this to work. It's just that it almost triples the efficiency. All right, you need less fuel with this and less time to be able to do it. So I'm going to turn off the camera again. I'm going to get this going for you, or just get the fuel together, because I want you to see what I'm doing here. And for fuel, I'm going to use some pine cones and some different sticks of wood that I've got around the house. So, and that's really what's important to me, is that you understand that I'll be using household stuff because I'm not out in the bush. I'm not going to use a ferro rod or a Bic lighter, although a Bic lighter would work. I'm going to use a propane torch. I'm home, and in a disaster situation, you're going to throw a lot of skills out the door, because you don't need to know how to do a bow drill when you're in the middle of the city like I am here in our village. So hang tight. I'm going to get some stuff together. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've processed down a lot of the fuel that we're going to be using. The key is with the Survivor rocket stove is that you use a fuel that is dry. Any biofuel will work, but if you're using wood like this came out of my shop, and I just took it down. Having it about pencil size is very, very good. Once it gets going, you can put some bigger stuff in there as well. This is very dry. This is old pine. This came out of the house, and I know that wood is over 100 years old. And then also I got pine cones to help everything get going here. While I'm doing this, I'll tell you a little bit about the magic of this particular stove. It has 360-degree ventilation on the bottom. It acts as a draft to give you clean oxygen. You need 3 elements to the fire triangle: ignition, fuel, and oxygen. This gives you plenty of oxygen, the best airflow out of any rocket stove that we reviewed at all. And then it has this shelf that everything sits on. And what I'm doing is I'm just using pine cones. I know some of you use them for decorations. You think they're cool to use, and I guess they are. But when you're talking about building a survival fire or heating your tent, boiling water, cooking food, these are a great source of ignition. Okay, and you can see I'm just putting a few of these sticks in here for right now on this shelf, and they're sticking out for a reason, because as I told you before when we were in the studio, is that this is a stove that you have to mind. You have to take a look at it and keep pushing this fuel in. So let me get it started, and I'm just using a propane torch with an active head on it. You really can't see it, I'm sure, in the camera, but it is burning very well. It's Now I'm going to put the dragon pot on top of it, and you will see the smoke that's coming out of the trademark flames that are on the dragon pot. Now I'll mention this to you. There's a lot of knockoffs on Todd's stuff, and they have different holes, but all of his stuff has the flame. Everything, you know. And then once it starts going, then what you can do is you can just let the lid lay down there a little bit and start feeding the fire. And we'll keep an eye on the time. I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of be able to see this. You know, I've been pushing this wood in. As I said, this is something that you have to tend. Now, it's been about 3 minutes. You can see how that fire is just roaring in there. And it's very efficient, as I said, because it has the 360-degree clean air coming up through the first wall, and then it rises up to the top and it burns a secondary flame. And to make the magic even better is the fact that this dragon pot is double walled and that flame is actually licking up inside there. Now let's take a look and see what's happening here. Look, the snow is almost all the way melted, and you see some bubbles down there that are starting to form. Alright, so I'm just going to leave that lid alone. Now when you use these stoves from Silverfire, you want to make sure that you leave this lid down. I'm going to point this out to you as well. This is what kind of a thinker Todd is out there. You see the size of that flame right there? That's the size of fuel that he recommends that you use for the stove. Now, of course, that is a recommendation, and it does work a lot better if you will stick with his recommendation. This is a good time to show you that you got to keep feeding this stuff, right? But, you know, sometimes I do put bigger things in there, like I'm getting ready to do here. I'm moving the camera all over the place. But you can see that there. That's a little bit bigger than that. And this is definitely bigger, you know. If Todd's watching, he's shaking his head right now, probably calling me stupid. It's alright, Todd, I forgive you. There's another small one. But there's so much stuff that goes on in this particular stove. I mean, this is also stuff. You see the ramp, it was just stored inside of here. Then you put this down. The insulation is so efficient. See me put my hand on here? This stove is not hot to the touch until you start to get up to the top where it's venting. Then you're going to get some. Let's take one more look before I turn the camera off. Alright, I will show you that for sure. You see that black colored smoke? That's from the impurities that's on that wood. Alright, let's look down in there. All the snow is gone. The bubbles are down there happening. Of course, it helped to keep the steam off the lens, right? Alright, hang tight. And keep in mind, this was actually frozen snow that we put in here, so it was extra cold and needed some extra energy in order to get it to boil. But I don't know if you can hear it. I'm hoping you'll be able to see it. It's rolling right now. So, in order to keep this snow safe, even though there was no evidence of animal infestation, I'm going to go ahead and just let it boil for a little while longer, for about 3 to 4 minutes, to make sure that it is not full of contaminants, because I do not feel like getting sick. Okay, before I move on, I wanted to show you the efficiency of the Silverfire Survivor. As far as a rocket stove is concerned, I mean, it's hammering right now, and I could keep fueling, feeding the fire, but I really don't need to, because I'm almost done. But you can see as I push that in there how high that flame goes, and if you have that dragon pot on there, those flames are actually going into the side of the pot itself. Got my tea going on down here, and I will use the remainder of the water to start my stew once I have the other stove going. So Alright, so I've buttoned down the rocket stove. I'm getting ready to load up the Hunter. And again, I'm using pine cones. Pine cones are a great fire starter. I know you don't have them like this down in Texas. You've got some version, but this is from the long leaf pine. And they burn great. Now, one of the differences, I'll talk about some of the physical differences here in just a second. But you know, I told you that Todd recommends, you know, pencil size, a little bit bigger than a pencil size, fuel for the Survivor. And with the chimney stove, you can actually use a larger mass style wood because of the fact that it is a top load updraft, and you've got more leeway with that, and you want to be able to burn longer to cook slower. And again, unlike the Survivor, the Hunter can be fed and you can walk away. I won't say set it and forget it like that cheesy commercial, but you can pretty much go about your business once you get this thing lit and going. Okay. There you go. One of the accessories that I recommend is this round top cast iron plate because it creates a lot of mass for the heat to gather on, and it won't affect how the fire burns because you can control it down here. Once it starts, you can just kind of turn it down just a little bit, and then it comes with this handle. And it starts, excuse me, coming out of the chimney. Burning very, very well. Now that's that water that we had. And what I am going to do is make kind of like a hobo stew. This will be a slow cooked style stew. This is going to be my base in the water. This is a beef base. That's just some gravy that Liz made. And then we got potatoes, we got carrots, and we got some awesome beef. It's going to go inside the pot here. When it's said and done with, it's going to be a hearty stew. A lot of calories are in here. Fat's going on. Potatoes and carrots, as I said. Now I don't want it to get real thick because I want it kind of be a soup consistency. Now, if I was starting from scratch with this, what I would do is braise my beef here on the Survivor, the rocket stove. I could hear this stuff going already in there. I could slow this down a little bit here so the fire doesn't burn as fast, the fuel doesn't go as fast. Okay, while the stew is doing its thing, we'll just take a quick peek down in there. It's not, yeah, it's rolling down on the bottom. I hope you can see that. Maybe you can't, but just kind of letting that get warm, cook down a little bit. Unlike the Survivor, you could put this right on a wooden tabletop and it's never going to burn it, right? But you can't do that with the Hunter, because the Hunter's bottom does get pretty hot. It's got handles on it that you can flare out if you think that you might need to move it, you know. Same thing goes with the Survivor. I like these handles here. This really isn't made to move once you start using it. It's all right, guys. This has been going now for about 1 hour and 5, maybe 1 hour and 10 minutes. I've had to add fuel twice. And the reason for that is because I was using the smaller stuff, pine cones and some of this pine material that I had. If you use something the size of your arm, oak, hickory, something like that, you could add that to your initial fire and it is going to burn much slower, much more controlled. But you can always control it with the damper down here, as I said before, and you can see how low I have that damper. Now, let's take a look after 1 hour and 10 minutes. Whoa, see what it's doing down in there? It is smoking and rolling, and we're getting ready to have some soup. Alright guys, you know, that's pretty successful, but you know, I'm just letting it cook down a little bit more. I'm not going to add any more fuel to the fire. I put the damper down, it slowed down quite a bit, but this to me again would be perfect for you folks that are down there in Texas right now that are looking for a way to be able to feed your family, to be able to, you know, boil water. You know, I see out there on your grill boiling snow, that'll work. But if you'd invest in something like this and like this, you got yourself a survival kitchen, a disaster kitchen that's going to last you a lifetime. One of the things I did want to make mention of is because this has a chimney, if you buy the right elbows and follow the right codes for your city, you could actually, you know, use this in your house, but you have to vent it outside. You can't burn it inside your house, and neither can you burn this inside your house. It's not a heat stove per se, but it will throw off some heat because of the mass of the stove and the fact that you are burning some very efficient fuel inside of there. So, you know, go out to silverfire.us, check out all their products, but especially check out these. And again, Jeanette, thank you very, very much for your email and questioning, you know, when I was going to say something. And so I hope that this has helped you and helped all of our friends down there in Texas, all of our readers and all the people that have written, you know, and have asked for some recommendations on how to survive in that type of situation. You're not out in the woods, but as we've all found out now, that you can be thrown into a survival situation like that, and you don't have to be 50 miles off grid, because if the grid goes down, as it did go in Texas, which can happen anywhere, you're going to be in trouble if you're not prepared. So I hope you enjoyed what you've seen here, and I hope it has helped you out. That's the most. You know, I don't really care if you enjoy it, but I'm hoping you can say, Tony, it did help me out. So until next time, you know, you guys, I want to tell you I appreciate all you're doing for us by supporting us and watching our videos and reading the magazine and sending us the emails and asking us all the questions. So, you know, subscribe and like and share this. And until next time, especially down there in Texas. You guys ride free, you live free, and you be safe.